Season 9 of Night School is presented by the AQHA. Watch and wager on the AQHA Distance Challenge Friday, October 4th at Lone Star Park. Keeneland Select. Live racing returns to Keeneland Friday, October 4th. Visit KeenelandSelect.com and earn a $150 sign-up bonus. Woodbine. Live racing all weekend long at Woodbine and Woodbine Mohawk Park. Pattison Canadian International Day, Saturday, October 12th. Remington Park. Live racing Thursday through Sunday. Oklahoma Classics Night, Friday, October 18th. And ExpressBet. Fund your account for free and get free past performances at ExpressBet.com.
Horses have off days, and by looking at them before they actually get on the racetrack, you get an initial impression of which way they're leaning.
This is going to sound crazy, but for me, it's intellectual stimulation.
Class is now in session. It's time for Night School. Here are your hosts.
Welcome, everyone, to Night School, the national online fan education program, now in our 9th season. We're in the second semester. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horseplayer Now, joined by the GM of HP Now, Brian W. Spencer. Brian, tonight we're swinging for the fences, talking about pick sixes.
And the pick six has evolved over time. We'll talk about that. It used to be kind of out of reach, I think, for most players, but some changes to a lot of those pick six wagers around the country have opened up that wager to a lot of different players with a lot of different types of bankrolls too.
For our newbies, a pick six means you're trying to pick the winner of 6 consecutive races. Most often, it's the final 6 races on a racing program at a given racetrack. For a long time, the pick six, which got its roots at Caliente in Mexico way back in the day, was a $2 wager. And it was kind of, as Brian mentioned, out of reach for a lot of horse players because when you start to multiply how many horses you're using in a ticket, it adds up very quickly at the $2 increment over the course of 6 races. But in recent times, things have changed. Over the last decade plus, the pick six, the minimum wager has dropped to the point now that at many racetracks it's a 20-cent pick six versus the $2 version. But there are some provisional differences in the traditional pick six to what we call today the jackpot or rainbow pick six, whereas the whole pool only pays out in a rainbow pick six if you are the lone soldier with the only winning ticket. So it's a bit different than what we're used to seeing in the traditional pick six. Brian, the old pick six, the $2 pick six, still exists on Breeders' Cup Day. There are some tracks, Del Mar, some places around the country that are still playing at the traditional $2 pick six. For me, I've always told folks, if you're going to play in that traditional pick six pool, you either play a small ticket or you're part of a very large ticket. Trying to wade in the middle of an $80, $100, $200 ticket just doesn't give you enough coverage to be competitive in my estimation.
No, I completely agree, and that's where the smaller increments in some of these wagers have helped, which we'll talk about those jackpot wagers. But as far as the traditional ones, 100% with you there, especially if it's a carryover day and you've got a ton of money in the pool. I'm not going to begrudge anyone a chance to take a swing at a life-changing score. But as you said, if you're playing a $200 ticket, in reality, that's not offering you a ton of additional coverage from a $48 ticket when you're at a $2 minimum. So like you said, you've either got to be spending $1,500, $3,000, really taking a serious swing at it, if not even more with some other players, some friends of yours. Otherwise, you've just got to be singling 3 horses, spreading in a couple races, and just hoping you get lucky at that $2 minimum.
To give you a sense of how a ticket can explode in a pick six versus a pick four, consider just playing 3 horses in each race. 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 in a pick four is 81 combinations. If it was a $1 wager, it would cost you $81. To take 3 horses in each leg of a pick six, it jumps from 81 combinations in the pick four to 729 in the pick six. So just adding 2 more races going 3 deep blows the ticket all the way up to $729. Just a crazy amount out there, and that's for a $1 play. In the traditional $2 pick six world, that's almost a $1,500 ticket just to go 3 deep in each race. That's why a lot of the major pick six players are people who are playing with extremely large bankrolls, and even the big bankroll players, a lot of those folks play together in teams or syndicates and trying to attack pick sixes, trying to pool their resources together and hit those big life-changing scores. Of course, in a pick six, you could take down $1 million pool with a big carryover in the $2 variety back in the day. We don't get as many of those major $1 million payoffs in the Rainbow Six kind of mandatory payout days. When it's a 20-cent combination, a lot more people are sharing in the wealth, but you certainly get the big jackpots in the Rainbow Sixes. Let's talk a little bit about that Rainbow Six jackpot pick six now, because that's really what we've come to accept, I guess, as horse players, whether you like them or not. Your traditional pick six players do not like these plays, but your smaller bankroll bettors certainly feel like they've got a puncher's chance and get involved in these. The Rainbow Six is a wager at Gulfstream Park that really got popularized, instituted in 2011 there at Gulfstream, but it really dates back to the Fortune Six at Beulah Park. Mike Weiss was a very innovative track executive in Ohio back in the 90s and early 2000s. The Fortune Six debuted in 2006. So we're talking almost, 13, 14 years ago now in Ohio. Again, Gulfstream picked it up in 2011 and kind of brought it from the bush tracks of Beulah to the mainstream. And now we saw Santa Anita come aboard with it in 2018 and Saratoga in August of 2019 and Naira starting that same sort of wager. Brian, 20-cent minimum over the course of 6 races. But the nuts and bolts of this jackpot pick six wager, again, as we mentioned, there has to be only one winning ticket to take down the whole pot. And the way this generally works is the track takeout on this kind of wager will be 15 to 20 to 25%. And then the carryover provision will be 30% of the pool in most places, 25 in some others will carry over to the next day if no one has a perfect ticket or has a lone ticket. So 70 to 75% of the pool is paying out to those who have the most on the 6 day. Maybe you have all 6, but multiple people have 6 out of 6, and then you're basically dividing up 75% of the handle for that day. The jackpot provision just keeps rolling over until finally there's only one person with one ticket. But when you add the 2 takeouts together, I mean, when you consider only 70 to 75% of the pool is paying out today, then you take the track takeout out of there. This is not a player-friendly wager in terms of takeout, but it is a chance to bring the lower budgets into play.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that we need to, not gloss over in discussing this, is that, it really does have a very steep takeout in the end. Because, as you mentioned, not only is the track taking their cut off the top, but the carryover provision also sucks additional money out of the pool every day that's not being returned to players. All that being said, though, there are different mentalities for attacking these. One of the members of our Horse Player Now team, Brian Natto, has been a big advocate about not going for the jackpot. You have to get incredibly lucky and string together, almost inconceivable sets of results most times to be able to take down a big jackpot. But Brian has been a big proponent, and I've sort of seen this in action of, attacking very logical sequences. You're not spreading on a $240 ticket trying to be the only winner. You're putting together a $24 ticket, a $12 ticket, something very concise, and you're punching it multiple times because you don't need to be the only winner in that circumstance. And I think that that's one of the ways we've seen some players with this 20-cent minimum try to kind of counteract that takeout, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to string together logical results, and then as the winners, take all of that money that people are shoving at useless horses who have no chance of winning in their quest to try to take down the entire jackpot. So there are ways to overcome that big takeout, but we definitely don't want to ignore that there is a much increased takeout in these Rainbow Pick 6, jackpot Pick 6 type wagers.
It's hard to say that you're going to get an overlay with the takeout as rich as it is, but I see what you're saying in that regard, because if you get 6 logical results all strung together, it may still pay more than you think it would. Like when you look at it and you say, wow, nothing in this sequence was over 7 to 2. This was very gettable, and for my daily reward on my 20-cent bet that I put $12, $15 in, I got $1,500 back. So there is a way to turn a small amount into a nice score when playing these. Now, the carryover days often end up where they just keep rolling 20, 30, 40 days in a row where these wagers aren't hit, and then the track will post a mandatory payout day in these jackpot pick sixes. The thing about that is when you set that date and say on Saturday the 1st, we're going to pay mandatory pool, no matter what happens, all of the carryover will be paid, even if it's not a single winner that day. What happens is I think there's a little bit of rush by people to try to attack before that carryover day because you're trying to get in before everybody's involved in the mandatory payout. I think we've seen a couple of these go down on, say, mandatory payoff day is Saturday, Thursday or Friday during the week as they're getting through these sequences. People are really taking some shots on tickets where you can spread, maybe get some prices, and if it all works out for you, we've seen some of these go down for some big bananas earlier in the week on mandatory payout weeks.
Oh, yeah, we used to see that at fairgrounds. You'd build up a $250,000 black gold 5 carryover, get ready to pay it off on closing day, and 48 hours ahead of time somebody knocks it down because everyone, I mean, the flip side of that is a lot of people are waiting for the mandatory payout day. So maybe you get a different subset of players who, are not looking for a jackpot. So maybe there's, maybe that's kind of why we see that sort of instance happen more frequently than you'd think you would. But those mandatory payout days, if you can get to them, there is, spend your money the way you want, but there is probably no better wager than any, these 20-cent pick six carryovers, I think on these mandatory payout days are absolutely wonderful because you get into the pick six with the 20-cent minimum, you can still get a little bit of separation, but even at the 20-cent increment though, these tickets start to add up. So a 20-to-1 goes a long way even at that 20-cent increment on a mandatory payout day when you potentially already got millions of dollars of free money sitting in the pool.
Yeah, and the great Steve Christ, who's really studied the pick six probably as much as anybody in the public handicapping and racetrack management sphere, said, in night school years ago when we had him on, the beauty of carryover days is it's the only time at the racetrack where they're going to pay out more money today than it was actually bet into the pool. That's why you want to get excited about a carryover day, because not only are they paying out what was bet today, but the carryover added on top of it, the returns that come back out to the player actually put you in a positive situation. Now, if you were playing into that rainbow or jackpot 6 throughout the course of the past 30, 40 days when it wasn't hit, you're not necessarily getting the best of that because it's your money coming back in a lot of those cases. But if you're one of those players who just cherry picks and waits for a big mandatory payoff day and jumps into the pool, that's not the worst approach in the world. But again, that's when you're trying to turn that negative takeout, where this is really a tough takeout wager. It actually comes back in your favor on a mandatory payout day. You'll get a couple of those a year, and those are the chances to attack. Brian, from a betting standpoint, when you get into attack one of these wagers, how many singles or how are you looking to construct a ticket when it comes to a pick six?
Well, a lot of it, too, would change on whether or not we're having a mandatory payout day, because on a regular...
let's say it is a mandatory payout day. Let's say if you're going after the mandatory payout, you're somebody who doesn't play these pools often, but it is mandatory payout day. Where are you looking?
Well, that's perfect because this is me. I'm just a vulture who only plays these pick sixes on these mandatory payout days. But on those days, I think that is a day, that's the kind of day where you can spread around a little bit more. But I'm still in a pick six sequence. Even on a mandatory payout day, I need probably 2 singles because you're not going to be able to generally catch a price without going, several horses deep in some turf race somewhere. So I want to be able to spread in the races where I think a price can pop, but I'm definitely looking for a single or 2, definitely 2 in the pick six. But if you can do that, you single 2 horses and then you kind of play a little spread out in those other 4 races, you can cover a lot of combinations at that 20-cent minimum. But I think that's kind of the way to do it, is key in on the races where you've got a strong opinion, focus there, and then try to spread out in the races where you think, you can catch a little bit of a price. It's the same kind of mentality as betting a pick 3 or a pick 4, only on the mandatory payout days, though.
It used to be the big guy's wager, and I say from a psychological standpoint, the more money you have in life, the more it takes to kind of urge your Jones in horse racing. You're not excited about hitting $23 exacta bets. The larger, more richer bankroll players got into the pick six because they're trying to hit for $300,000, $500,000, and you're playing against a different group. That's in the traditional $2 pick six, and the big bettors may have a little bit different mentality. But now in this 20-cent era, it's a whole different ballgame that we're learning about. One of the biggest bettors in the country, Ron Paolucci of Luch Racing Stables, joined us in night school a few years is back, and we're going to go into the vault and talk to him about large bankroll betting and how it pertains specifically to the Pick Six. And after Luch, we'll have Caton Bredar join us on Night School. Stay with us.
Pick, bet, and cheer on live racing from Woodbine and Mohawk Park. Thoroughbred and harness action. The wagers are just the beginning. Watch award-winning broadcasts covering both breeds, incredible battles contested over the most unique grass course in North America. Experience the full fields with over 130 thoroughbred and 160 live harness days. Get access to free handicapping material and join the ranks of Woodbine and Mohawk Park players from all over the globe. For more information, visit woodbine.com.
Strategize, analyze, select. Join Keeneland Select to bet on racing from around the world on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, anytime, anywhere. Featuring the best rewards in racing, free past performances, live video, race replays, and more. Plus, Keeneland Select invests a portion of its profits back into the sport. Join Keeneland Select today and earn a $150 sign-up bonus at KeenelandSelect.com. Dedicated to the sport and dedicated to the players.
Some folks like to bet on the horses. Some like to bet on the games. Some folks like to bet on their phone. And some like to bet from their suite. So what's your best bet? All of the above. No matter how you like to bet, Remington Park is your best bet yet. With world-class horse racing, OKC's newest casino, and online suite booking now available. Remington Park, it's your best bet yet.
Hey, what's going on? Mikey here, and I'm going to tell you about an offer from my good friends at ExpressBet. Let's be honest, we know you love playing the races, but you can't always make it to the track. Sometimes life just gets in the way of a good bet. Well, what if I told you about a place where you never miss a bet and you start with house money? You'd say I'm crazy, right? Well, not at ExpressBet. Your first $100 are on them. That's right. Sign up with expressbet.com using promo code XBRadio, bet $100, and they'll deposit $100 back into your account the very next day. Hey, plus you could get an extra $25 if you use Express Fund Direct Deposit. You see what I mean? House money for betting the races. It's that easy. Check it out at expressbet.com to learn more. And don't forget to sign up with promo code XBRadio. You're gonna love it. And that's a Mikey guarantee. Must be 18 years or older and 21 years old in certain states to open an account with ExpressBet and reside in a state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
Welcome back to the show. Enjoy this classic Night School clip from the vault.
I apply my trade to every race that runs just about every day. I don't discriminate when it comes to races or wagering. I probably play 7 to 10 tracks a day. I'm using the Jerry Browns. I'm using the Rags. I'm looking for value. I love the Pick Six, especially like Gulfstream. When you get a pool to where they're only carrying a certain amount, people will look at it and go, that's a bad bet because you should only play on the giveaway days. No, that's not the truth. The truth is those are the best wagering days because you're not getting guys that are playing multiple tickets. I know a lot of guys that at the Aqueducts and the Santa Anitas, they're pressing numbers. If you hit it, you're not getting value. Here, you're getting guys that are throwing money in and playing horses that really have no chance, therefore increasing your value when you hit it. I'm a pick 6, pick 4, pick 5 player. On the larger days, I like making larger win bets, but it's hard to bet 4, 5, 6,000, even at Aqueduct on a horse. You can do it at like Del Mar, you can do it at Saratoga, you can do it at the bigger venues, but the Aqueducts of the world, the larger tracks that have the longer meets. If I'm betting 4, 5, 6,000 on a horse, instead of being 5 to 1, he's 8 to 5. So you really can't make those kind of larger wagers now the way the pools are today.
Welcome back. Set to close out tonight's episode on the Pick 6 with our regularly scheduled visit from Caton Bredar. And Caton, Jeremy, and I kind of talked a little bit about the evolution of the Pick 6 from the $2 minimums to now playing the 20-cent jackpot type Rainbow Six wagers at places like Gulfstream. How has the change in the Pick 6 landscape affected you, if at all, if you used to play it, if you play them more now? And, maybe what kind of days, what kind of tickets do you like to play when you are playing in those jackpot Pick 6 pools?
Well, I think I definitely have taken a shot more than I ever did before, because I really felt before we had the jackpot situation and the lower minimum to get involved, it was a bit more of a pricey proposition to try to hit it realistically. So, and you were constantly playing against people that had bigger bankrolls for the most part. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I do like about the jackpot is in the evolution of the Pick 6 is the fact that I think it does open the door to smaller players having a chance and getting involved, and that includes me. But the other thing, I don't think I play it the same way a lot of other people do, because I know a lot of people only jump in when there's a mandatory payoff, and that's certainly all right. But realistically, the odds of me being one who's going to get the mandatory, I mean, I'll play it for sure when there's a mandatory payoff, but I don't play it necessarily that much more aggressively or get more involved than I would on any other day, because what I like is now the opportunity to be able to potentially hit it. And even though the payoffs, when it's, a smaller pool, or when it's a little bit chalkier, are smaller, you're not going to have that huge bonanza life-changing score. I find that especially if you have some short fields or some circumstances where there's prohibitive favorites and standouts, that it pays much better if you can hit it, even when it's paying out to multi-tickets, than a parlay would, or than playing those races individually. So I think that it's given an opportunity to people on a limited budget to get involved in the Pick 6 on a regular basis, and at least in my case, that's been the situation, and still make money, even when there's maybe smaller fields or less than desirable circumstances when you're looking at each of the races separately. And I think that is something that was only possible as a result of the jackpot, because so much money comes into it with the hope of hitting the jackpot that fewer people are playing it just to hit it and share. And as a result, even though it doesn't pay huge, it pays nicely and better than it would if you were just, say, betting those 6 individual races. So for me, I've played it more often. I do think that when you play it, though, you have to be mindful of who you really think is most likely to win. Are there many races where there are likely favorites that are going to get beat, or where it's going to be chaos, where you can get some prices home? Or does it really look like a sequence of races where you're going to have first, second, or third choice in almost every race? And that determines how much you invest. Because if the payoff isn't going to warrant it, you can't invest big sums of money. But again, with the 20-cent minimum in most circumstances, or 50 cents depending, it allows you to play it on a smaller ticket.
And I think that's something that we've, we heard from Jeremy earlier. Our colleague Brian Natto has talked about this for a couple years too. The idea that if you despite sort of a prohibitively high takeout, if you're playing it just to hit it instead of getting the jackpot, you actually have a chance to get some decent payouts in these pools, even when you're sharing with some other people. So Caton on board with the rest of the Horse Player Now team on that one. We're going to close out tonight's show. We'll be back next week to talk trip handicapping.
Next on FAQ 60, hooking up. One popular handicapping angle in American quarter horse racing has a catchy name and a place in the toolbox of many horse players: hooking up. That's when two horses racing alongside one another hook up and bring out the best in each other. Many horses run only as fast as those around them, so breaking next to the fastest horse in the race can be a perfect date. Hooking up also makes sense as a handicapping angle when you consider traffic trouble. Often the race winner is the fastest horse who has the cleanest trip. By running alongside a horse with a clean trip, the runner-up can have smooth sailing. Remember, what's lucky for good old number 7 can also be good for numbers 6 and 8. This FAQ 60 is presented by AQHA Racing and Horse Player Now.
Enjoy tonight's episode? Check out hundreds of past archives at horseplayernow.com.